Hey guys, it's Andrea and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching part 1 of my pregnancy story, and if you haven't already, go ahead and go back to watch that video before you watch this one so you can get the full story. On this video, I'm going to talk about how I told my family and friends that I was pregnant. I think no one would have predicted that I would be pregnant, and the last person that would have thought of that was me. But I'm so happy I have my little girl. She's the most beautiful thing in this world to me, and I'm going to tell you guys how I told my family and friends I was pregnant. I remember this being one of the most nerve-wracking things for me to do. I know this can also be a very nerve-wracking time for anyone else who may be going through the same situation. And what I want to say to you guys is, you got this. You can do it. At the end of the day, bringing a baby into this world is about love and care, and you're gonna want people around you who show so much support towards you. And I know for some people, they feel like they might not have this in their partner or in their family or whoever, but I think how you tell someone is just important as the news itself, and that's what I learned when I was telling my family and friends. In my How I Found Out I Was Pregnant video, I said that I told my best friend Lindsay first, and that's because she just found out she was pregnant at the time, and I felt really comfortable telling my friend because she's been with me throughout life since we were, 5 years old, and to have someone going through a very similar situation as you at the same time is very comforting and very supportive, because they are the people that honestly best know what it's like. Even if their situation is very different from yours, they're gonna know what you're going through the most. So that's why I told her first, just to have that support and to have someone who really understands. In my family, I have 2 brothers. One of them is younger than me, the other one is older, and my mom and my dad. That is my immediate family. When I went through and thought about how I would tell each person, my best advice to you as well is really think about each member in your family or close friend and think about what their personality is and how they take certain news. I decided that I was going to tell who I was most comfortable telling the news to first. I told my brother Alistair first. Alistair and I have a very close bond. He is the baby of the family, and when he was born, I kind of became his second mother as well. I wanted to teach him everything. He was just always like my own baby too. And I feel like he tells me everything, I can tell him everything, and we just, as Benny would say, have a very different brother and sister bond than he's seen anyone else have. We have always been very mature towards each other. We never really got into fights. This is just me and my brothers in general, and we wouldn't tell on each other. We just really heard each other out and were there for each other and gave each other the best advice. And even if he was my little brother 6 years younger than me, he is honestly the person that gives me the best advice in life. He was very mature even since he was literally a baby, and I just look up to him a lot. My little brother was coming into town 2 days after I found out, so it just kind of made sense that he would be the first one that I would tell in my family. So Alistair was in his first year of college at the time, and he was coming home for Christmas break. He flew into an airport that was about 2 hours away from my family home, so I drove out 2 hours, again deathly ill, afraid that I wasn't gonna make it. I had to pull over a couple times and throw up, but I was excited to see my brother and also have his support. So while I was driving towards the airport to pick up Alistair, I was kind of thinking, should I tell him when I see him? Should I tell him on the way? But I wanted to also make this special. I didn't want to just pick him up and be like, hey, I'm pregnant. So I decided to wait because I wanted to sit down when we're home and have just a real conversation with him to make it more special and just in a more intimate setting instead of saying it to him just out of the blue. So the following morning, my brother and I were in my room and we were just having a casual conversation. and I started feeling so sick and I could not hold it in, so I had to run to the bathroom, and he heard me throw up, and I was like, oh great, I think, you know, now is going to be the time, because it's going to be obvious he's going to see me throwing up all day, every day. So I came back into my room and Alistair was like, did you just throw up? And what's funny, before I even said anything, Alistair was actually like, are you pregnant or something? Like, as a joke. And I just looked at him like big puppy eyes and being like, yes, with like our nervous laugh that we're known for in our family. Whenever we're like in an uncomfortable situation, we're kind of just like, hit. Then he thought I was joking, so he kind of started laughing, and then I started laughing awkwardly. He could tell that I was starting to get serious about it. So then he was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. And then he just straight went in for a hug and hugged me, and I just started crying. So at first he was definitely concerned, because I think he really didn't know how I felt about it. He didn't know how to feel about it. But Alistair, as usual, is wise far beyond his years. He just gave me very mature advice right away, and then he told me that he thinks that this was actually something that was necessary and needed to happen in my life at this point, just to give me extra motivation to push forward in a way that I never knew I needed. And I couldn't agree with him more, especially after we talked about everything together. And he was saying that he knows that I'm gonna be the best mom, and he really believes that Benny will also rise to the occasion, and that he's gonna be a great dad, and not only a great dad, but a great person for me to start this chapter of our lives together, because we share the same passions, and he would be very supportive when it came to me not only being a mom and a father of my child, but a person that would be there for me when I want to continue to follow my dreams and support me along the way, and that is true. So that was just a very special moment, and I'm so glad that Alistair was the first person in my family I told. I feel like because we just share that really special, unique bond, and because he is a person that really knows how to talk to me in a very special way and be there for me, it was a moment I'll never forget, and I'm so happy, and he was so happy, and I just could not be more excited for him to be an uncle to my future child, because I know how loving and how amazing he is, and just how funny and fun he is, and everything that we've shared together growing up. But it was really bittersweet, because it's like he's been my baby this whole time, and now I was having one of my own, and I felt like we felt that bittersweet moment between us, and it's something I'll truly never forget. So the next person in my family I was planning to tell was my mom, and there is something funny about this. So I was with Benny technically a year prior to us officially getting pregnant, and during that year I knew my mom could see how much I really loved Benny, and that this relationship was like nothing I've ever had, because he was like the first person that I really introduced to my family in a formal way. And I would go see him every single week, you know, drive 2.5 hours up to see him, 2.5 hours back, 3 days out of the week. So just that in itself, I really think my mom could tell that this was something serious that I'd never experienced before. And you know what they say, when you fall in love, you gain some love weight. And it's so funny, because I've never really gained weight in my life before, but I definitely was gaining some love weight. And I remember my mom coming into my room a couple like months before I found out I was pregnant, and she was like, I can tell you're gaining some weight. Which was just kind of funny, because I don't really take that personal. If you're from a Hispanic family, you just know that's how Hispanic moms are, and like, you know, they just kind of tell you things. But my mom has always been the kindest, most loving person. She's always told me I was beautiful, like all these things. So it was just kind of funny like hearing that from her, because I was not used to that. She actually was like, are you pregnant? Is that why? And I was like, no, no, mom. You know, like the child thing to say, especially if you're a daughter and your mom's talking to you like that. There's irony in that, in the sense that months later I would actually be pregnant. But quick little backstory with my mom: before she went on that trip, the day I went to the doctors and found out I was pregnant, a couple days before that, I was going to the store with her and I was driving and I had to pull over and throw up. So I think she was kind of getting signs that, you know, I was, but she was kind of doing that like Mexican mom, like suspicious look, like the like, I see what's going on, but I'm not gonna say anything until you tell me the truth. It was like that, like, funny tension between us. Like, she knew before I even knew, and it's so funny because they say, you know, your mom knows even if you don't know, and it was true. But she didn't say anything to me really after that. She just kind of, you know, gave me that look. And so my mom was now coming back from vacation, and it was just my brother and I at the house. And I was telling Alistair, like, okay, I'm gonna tell mom when she comes back, like literally as soon as she walks in the door, because I can't hold it in. And so I was like, how am I gonna tell my mom? So I really thought about the type of person my mom is and what she appreciates in life. My mom is not a materialistic person. She's more similar to me and how I like to receive gifts. You know, if I'm with someone, I want something very romantic, but just from anyone, I really appreciate sentimental gifts and thought behind something that someone does for you. So growing up, we would always have the abuelita chocolate in my house, and if you're Hispanic, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's literally the face of an abuelita on chocolate, which is more for actually like hot cocoa. I wanted something funny, something charismatic, but also something sentimental to tell my mom. So what I did was I bought an abuelita chocolate, and I put vas a ser at the top, so you're going to be, and then she would just read abuelita as like the brand. And then at the bottom I put my due date, 7/17/2020. And I was like, okay, so she'll open it up, she'll see vas a ser and then abuelita. This is perfect. And then we'll have like the real talk after. I wrap it up and I'm like holding it. I'm like laying on my bed because my room is right next to like when you come in to enter from the garage. And my brother and I are just sitting there waiting for my mom. My brother gets tired, so he literally just falls asleep on the bed, and I'm thinking like, Alistair, wake up, I need some support here. But he's just out, so I'm like, whatever. So I'm just like holding the abuelita chocolate, just like sitting on my bed and just waiting for the garage to open. And then so I hear my mom come in. Needless to say, it was my mom's birthday a couple days ago, so I was thinking she's gonna think this is like a late birthday present for her coming home, right? So my mom comes in, she's like, ay, hola niños, ¿cómo están? Like, just, you know, her soft, sweet voice. And then I was like, Alistair, wake up. So then Alistair wakes up, she comes, she sits on the bed, and I was like, Mom, I have a present for you. So I'm like holding it, and she's like, ay, para mi cumpleaños. And I was like, yeah, sure. And then so my mom grabs it, she starts opening it, and she doesn't even see the top. She's like, ay, chocolate, gracias. And I was like, no, like, look at it, look at the top. And she's like, vas a ser. She has no idea. She's not, no clue. Vas a ser, vas a ser. I was like, Mom, look at it. And she's like, vas a ser abuelita. And I was like, yes. And she's like, and then so she just hugs me, and then we start crying together. And Alistair was just kind of laughing at this point because he's like, it took her forever to realize what I was trying to say, because she was just obviously not expecting that at all. Just like, come home and, oh, you're gonna be a grandma. So that was kind of funny. But then, you know, we sat down, we had a really serious talk, but my mom was fully there for me. She loves her children more than anything, and I knew she would be. She was really happy, she was excited, and I think she wanted to be a grandma to probably my older brother first, but you know, life happens in mysterious ways. So I was having her first grandchild and she was really excited. So next person I was going to tell in my family was my older brother Ollie, which is his nickname for Alejandro. I really had to think about this one because Ollie's the type of personality that's also been super mature. He's just very straightforward thinking. My brother has a really big heart, and I knew that no matter what, he will always be there for me too. And that's what I really appreciate my family. I feel like no matter what happens between us, I know all of us are united as one and will always be there for each other no matter what. And I knew that's how my brother was, especially as an older brother, a protective brother. He was gonna be there for me. He lives out of state, so he usually comes to visit us for holidays, especially for his birthday and Christmas time. Benny was in town. He was there celebrating with my family for Christmas. Benny and I went out, we went to the store, and we were getting gifts for my family and gifts for, you know, Ollie's birthday. And we were thinking, you know, since we're opening all these gifts and everything, why don't we get him a gift to surprise him and tell him the news? So we were at the store and we found this super cute little baby Adidas outfit, and Benny's like the biggest Adidas fan. So we wanted to, you know, buy something for our future child, and also, you know, why not throw it in the bag and surprise him that way? So in Ollie's present, at the very bottom of the bag, after he opened up all his other presents, was the baby Adidas tracksuit. And I remember that moment like, oh my gosh, what is he gonna think when he just pulls out a random baby tracksuit? Like, is he gonna be confused? Will he know right away? Like, what's gonna happen? My brother is, you know, going to the bottom of the bag. Everyone else knew, my mom, my little brother, Benny, obviously, and me. So we're just like waiting and waiting and waiting. So Ollie pulls it out and he looks at it like super confused. Like, he's kind of like, what? And then like all of a sudden it just hits him and he looks at me, he's like, are you pregnant? And I was like, yeah. And then when I tell you, like, I'll never forget the smile on my brother's face when he said that and I said yes. It was like almost looking back at pictures of him when he was like a little kid and he had that like big smile. And you know, Benny really noticed that too, and we talked about it afterwards, but the joy in my brother's face, like, I was expecting it, but not expecting it like that, and that really, like, made me happy. He was just, like, automatically so happy for me, and that made us even more excited, and it was just kind of funny, because afterwards, he's just like, at first, I thought you guys were trying to tell me, like, okay, it's time to have a kid now, because, you know, you're, like, almost 30, it's time. And then he was like, no, they wouldn't do that, or I don't think they'd put that in there for that. So then I was like, oh my god, I think Andrea's pregnant. So that was just that story, and then it was really special because it was around Christmas time, so we all got to, you know, not only celebrate all our family's birthdays, which are pretty much all in December, and Christmas, the birth of Jesus, all of that, but also celebrate our baby that was coming. And I'll never forget, Ollie was just like, yes, we get to have a baby party in the family, because my last name is Party, you know, with my dad's side. So he's like, we'll have a baby party in the family finally, and he was just so excited, and that made us so excited and happy. Okay, so lastly, I had to break the news to my dad. I'm like nervous even talking about it right now. My parents in general have always been very strict on me, but in the most positive way. And now looking back, especially having a child, I'm so thankful for that. And I want to be as my parents were, and you know, even better. My dad has always just been so protective over me, and I really respect him for that, especially now. But to be honest, I was just so scared to tell my dad, because he is that, you know, like loud Italian type of like reactive type of guy, and I'm just used to that. So I was like, oh my god, like, what's gonna happen? I feel like in my thought process of telling my dad, I really had to be careful and innovative in how I delivered this news to him. I wanted it to be a very special moment, and I wanted to do it in a way that I could really reach my dad in his heart. And what I decided to do is something that my dad and I share. We love to write. From a child all the way up until my master's, my dad was the person who would always revise my papers. He, would help me with, artistic things as well. And I wanted to write my dad a letter, and there was a couple of reasons why I wanted to do that. I felt like if I took the time to write out exactly what I was feeling and how I could communicate to my dad without the pressure of being in person and not fully getting my thoughts across the way I want to, and like stumbling on my words or crying or like whatever was gonna happen, I knew that I had to explain to him some things in a very certain way, and that's why I wanted to write a letter to explain everything and tell him things that were really on my heart. So I took the time to sit down and write out this letter, and basically the gist of the letter was, I really respect you and I'm really thankful for the way that you raised me, and I wouldn't be where I am in life right now if it wasn't for you. One of my dad's #1 goals for his children was for all of his children to go to college and not only get their bachelor's degree but continue college and get their master's. And he was very supportive no matter what field we went into. For example, mine was dance, and I don't think I would have ever gone to college and know the type of person I am, the type of artist I am, really find out who I am as a person and as a creative if it wasn't for my dad. And so I just really thanked him for that, and the person he has grown me up to be, the person who loves God and lives a, quote, godly life, even though I got pregnant before marriage, but I just feel like my dad always really instilled morality into his children, core values into his children, and just everything, and I wanted to let him know that I really thank him for that. After I said that, I did break the news to him in the letter that I was pregnant and I was expecting, but I wanted him to know that I was okay and that Benny was in this with me and that we were going to start this beautiful life together, and I was going to embrace every moment of it. And I told him, I know this might be hard for you to hear, and I don't know how you're gonna feel about it necessarily, but I said that I know that you're my dad, and if I know anything about you, I know that you love me undeniably, and no matter what happens in life, you'll always stand by my side. And that is the truth. Like, no matter like how my dad is in certain aspects, like I knew that he would stand by my side and he would be supportive of me. I wrote out that letter, I printed it, it was super official, I put it in an envelope, and of course I had to add a little quirky touch. So one of the funny backstories about my dad is he also rescues cats in the neighborhood, and he'll go get them spayed. I went to Walmart, I went to the toy kids section, and I found a little white kitty, all little twisty things on the back of it, and once you winded it all up, the kitty would just walk like this and it'd go meow, meow, and it was so freaking cute. Like, to this day I want to get it back from him so I could give it to Amaris. So what I did was I attached the letter to the kitty's collar, and instead of like random cats like showing up in our neighborhood outside of our front door, he would see this like toy kitty meowing in the front door with a letter attached to it. Also, another backstory, I wanted to tell my dad on Christmas Day, the day after I told my older brother. So we went to my dad's house and everything, but it just didn't work out. I was honestly like, I was too sick, I felt too nervous, and I just knew it wasn't the time. So that's why I decided to go with the letter option, because I just knew the way I said it to my dad was just important as the news. I think it was just a couple days after Christmas We all went back to my dad's house before my brothers had to leave again, and you know, everyone went their separate ways. And I just remember my older brother Ollie being like, tell him now, hurry up, just tell him, it's gonna be fine, just tell him. I'm like freaking out, and they're like, just do it. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it, I have to do it, let's just get this over with so then we can like take it from here, right? So what I do is I walk outside. We have the double doors, you know, the regular like wood door and then the wrought iron door. I open up the wood door, keep the wrought iron door shut, and I put the kitty outside of it, wind it up, and have it come. And then while my dad's cooking, I go to the kitchen and I say, Dad, there's something outside for you. And then he's like, what? And then I'm like, yeah, there's like a kitty out there. And he's like, okay. So then he opens up the door, the kitty starts walking towards him like, meow, pulling this letter around its neck, right? My brothers just kind of start laughing, and I start laughing, and my dad starts laughing his head off. He thought it was the funniest thing, and he's like, what is this? Little did he know it was not gonna get funny real quick. I'm like, oh, it's for you. And now, so he's probably thinking this is a late Christmas present. So I'm like, Dad, go to your room and open this up. And he's like, okay. And the reason why I wanted to have my dad go to his room and open it up is because in case he like freaked out or anything, he could be in his own space, have his moment, take his breaths, and relax before I talk to him. So I was like, just go to your room and open it. And he's like, okay. So he goes to his room. His room is at the end of the hallway in the house, right? So now it's just my brothers and I sitting on the couch while my dad is opening up this letter with the door closed. And I kid you not, my brothers are on both sides of me. I'm like clawing into my brother's skin, and then I'm like holding on for dear life, like literally a cat, talking about cats. And I'm like freaking out. And then so they're like, Andrea, it's fine, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. And it was probably a good like 5 to 10 minutes, but I literally thought it was eternity. The next thing I hear was the doorknob twist, the door open, it creaking. And then my dad goes, Andrea, can you come here? And I was like, yes. So then I'm like holding on to my brothers for dear life, but I was like, I know I need to face this on my own and go to him on my own and talk to him. So I was like, suck it up, Andrea, big girl, put your big girl panties on and go. So again, kind of like the humor part of this is like, I felt like I was walking to like Judgment Day and God was like standing at the end, and I was like, I'm ready to hear where I'm going. That's how it felt like. So I was like taking, you know, my steps all the way towards the end of the hallway, and I go in there, and my dad is like as calm as can be, like the calmest I've ever seen him in his life, and he's just like, sit down. And I was like, okay. So long story short, we just start having a super deep conversation together, but my dad was fully there for me. He was fully on my side, and he just told me like, just take everything in and don't feel pressured to do anything. And I think that was so important for me to hear, because even though I didn't necessarily feel super pressured, I did have thoughts such as, you know, should Benny and I get married right now? Like, should we do this right now? Because when you hear shocking and unexpected news like that, you have the feeling that like everything needs to be solved in that moment. And I think the wisest words from my dad was, don't rush. And I feel like I really needed to hear that, and especially from him. And even though I do want to get married to Benny still to this day, and you know, there's things we want to get a house, we want to do this, it's like, just take that breath for yourself and enjoy what's happening in the moment and embrace your family. And that's what I did, and I really thank my dad for that, because I feel like I'm gonna cry if I say this. Because of quarantine and everything, my family wasn't able to go to the hospital and be there with me, so it was just Benny and I. So they didn't actually meet Amaris until like 2 weeks after she was born. So I specifically remember my dad walking into our apartment, and it was just such a movie moment. I was next to the window with like the light shining in so beautifully, casted over my daughter and I as I was holding her and rocking her, and my dad comes in and he just looks at us and he just breaks down into tears. And I think I've only seen my dad cry like once in my life, so to see my dad cry and like in that moment, like I just broke down too. I feel like in that moment I just knew how special a father-daughter bond is and how much I look up to my dad. Okay, I'm back. So I just knew how special our bond is and just how much I want Amaris to have that bond with Benny as well, because a father and daughter bond is unlike any other, just as a mother and daughter bond is. And it was just like a full circle moment there, because like I was so scared to tell him, but I knew that my dad was gonna be there for me no matter what. And like just seeing him come in and like just love like so hard on us is like the most special thing in the world. And just like just in general, like for my family to be so loving and supportive. And I just want to say, like, for whoever doesn't have that in their life, it's still okay. Like for me, God is number one. Like there's so many things that I just went to God to that I didn't even go to my family for, and he cleanses me, he purifies me, and he reminds me what's important. And I feel like I never knew how much courage and how much strength I had until I faced my greatest fear, and that was like, you know, telling my dad that I was pregnant. And it was the most beautiful and just like glorifying experience that I'll never forget. So I just want to encourage you, no matter what situation you're in, like I promise you, just carry the strength within yourself and everything is going to be okay. Just have that strength within, and when you feel like you have none, turn towards God, because he will give you all the strength you need. Okay, now that the tears are gone and the lipstick is reapplied, I want to talk about how I told my closest friends next. So as I already said, I told my best friend Lindsay first, who was also pregnant, and the second friend I told was my other friend Tara, who is now pregnant and about to pop any day. So how that happened was, for New Year's, she invited me to go to her New Year's party. So Benny and I drove up to Phoenix together again. I was like praying so hard. I was like, please don't let me be nauseous for New Year's. Like I don't want anyone to know yet. And I was like, I know I just have to tell her like as soon as I get there, so that way she knows like why I'm not drinking. I remember we showed up to her house. We go upstairs to her bedroom and we're like getting ready. And then I was like, hey, I need to tell you something. She just like looks at me and then she's like, what? And then she like looks down, you know, it's like to my hand, and she's like thinking like I'm engaged at first or something, or we're getting married. And then I was like, I'm pregnant. And she's like, oh my gosh. And then she just hugged me, started crying again. It was so funny. I've like never really cried. Like obviously I've cried before, but like I'm saying, like not continuously until I was pregnant, and just like telling everyone that I was, like it was just very emotional. So then she's like the most supportive person. She was just like, I'm so excited for you. You're gonna be the best mom. Like she was just really, really excited for me. She's like, I can't wait to see what your baby looks like, if you're gonna have a boy or girl. And it was just really nice to tell a friend first of all and have them be so excited about that. And now, little did we know, we would both have baby girls in the next, you know, year. So that's really exciting. After that, I told my other best friend, Richard. It was kind of funny because I was like texting him back and forth at the time where I was like super sick, because he was asking me to like hang out or whatever, or go to like his Christmas party too. And I think I have a really bad flu. I don't know if I can go yet. Like I'm so sick. And then so I just, you know, told him this whole story. I showed him my ultrasound video and he just could not believe it, and he was so happy for me. And Something that I'll never forget with him too was I actually went back to see him recently, and he met my daughter and everything. He told me, he's like, Andrea, if there's anyone that could, you know, be a mom and go through all of this, like, you are the person too. And that just made me feel so good, not only knowing that I have like such great and supportive friends, but like that my friends have so much like faith in me and believe in me so much. Thank you for that, Richard, because that really meant so much to me. Then after that, I was going to hang out with my friend Sam, and this was kind of a funny story too, because at the time when I was living in my hometown and she was living there as well, we would sometimes go to church together. So I asked her, I was like, hey, do you want to, you know, go to church with me this Sunday? And that's when I was planning to tell her. And she's like, yeah, sure. So she actually slept through her alarm to wake up for church, because she's a nurse and she works nights all the time, so I totally understand. She calls me as I'm leaving church and she's like, sorry I slept in, but like, do you want to still meet up for lunch? And I was like, yeah, perfect, because I was thinking I could tell her then. But when she called me, I was pulling out of the church parking lot, and it just so happened it was like right in front of the crosswalk where like everyone is walking through to go to their car from church. And I'm like pulling over, throwing up, and trying to be super casual about it as like all these people are walking by. So it was like kind of awkward, but I was like, you know what, it's whatever at this point. When you're pregnant and you go through all these things, you kind of reach a point where you like don't even care and don't even have any like humility towards things. It's just like, if it happens, it happens. So she's like listening to me like throw up on the phone, and I'm thinking like, what is she thinking right now? Like, I was like, does she totally know? Like, is this obvious, or does she just think I'm really sick and I'm about to meet her for lunch? I actually met her at the mall first, and I just remember like sitting outside waiting for her, and I was really excited to tell Sam, because I knew she was also going to be a person that like was not expecting this at all. And Sam is a very like loving person, and I know that she would just like be there for me and be like not only there for me but super excited for me. So I tell her, and I think like I honestly kind of told her just like out of the blue, like I saw her, because at this point I just like I wanted to tell people and wanted them to know. Like with my family it was a very thought out process, but like with my friends I'm just like, I just want to tell you. And so I told her, and she was just like super in shock, like, what? But then she was so happy for me, and she was getting excited for me, and she was just like, your daughter is gonna be the most beautiful girl, like just with you and Benny. And I was like, like, she's just so sweet. She's always been like my cheerleader. Like, Sam is my cheerleader. She's such a great friend. She's always there for me no matter what. And it was just a very exciting time. She's like, I want to have babies now too, like I'm getting baby fever, and it was just kind of funny. So yeah, that was exciting. And to this day, Sam's always a person to check up on me and, you know, make sure I'm doing okay and everything. Then I was actually invited to go do a fashion show for one of my friends, Herschel, who is actually doing our dresses for Amherst's birthday party. And I was like, I want to do this fashion show because I want my daughter to look back on this and not only say, hey, you were in a fashion show when you were only 3 months in my tummy, but also like, even if your mom feels this way, your mom can get through anything, and so can you, and we can totally work it. Wow, that was such like a mom like awkward thing to say. Work it, honey, come on. Look at me, I'm already a dance mom. But no, you know what I mean, like, even if I'm pregnant, I'm a woman, I'm feeling this way, I can still slay all day and every day, and I can go down the runway and be like, I'm still me, and I'm gonna be me regardless. And I want to show her like, you can always be yourself no matter what comes towards your way in life. So I really wanted to do that show for my daughter, and I invited my friend Kathleen to go watch me in the show. And I wanted to tell her too, but I didn't want it to be like an after show thing, like, by the way. So we had lunch before, and I was like, I have something to tell you. And she's like, what? and I was like, I'm pregnant. And she was probably the most like reactive person, like in shock, like, what? Like, you're pregnant? And I was like, yes. So then I told her the whole entire story over lunch, and it was just funny. She knew something was wrong too, because like anytime Kathleen and I go anywhere, and just her knowing me in college and everything, she knows I will eat everything and anything, and if you don't finish your meal, don't worry, I got you, I will eat it too. And I like didn't even touch my food yet, and she's like, are you okay? And I ordered salad, and that was very bizarre for me to just like order a salad. So that was just kind of funny. But she was so excited for me, and you know, she said that she's been wanting to start trying as well, and little did we know that, looking back now, we think that she was already pregnant at the point when I told her. So how funny is that, how life works, where we're both sitting there pregnant, ready to take on that journey together as well. And we're just so excited, and I'm so excited for her now too, having her little baby and my little baby. And I'm just so blessed to have her in my life as well, for always really being there for me. And she was so supportive throughout my pregnancy, always asking me what I needed, was always there for me. The last friend I told before I revealed the news to the world was one of my best friends from college, Kenya. We met when I was 17 and she was 23, and she actually had a little girl at the time, and we would always talk about our future. And it's just so crazy now that we both have little girls together, and I just thank her for being such an incredible friend, and just really being a good role model of what a amazing mom is like. And I really did learn so much from her. It's just crazy that I am where I am now, and she is where she is, and we're still great friends, and I'm so thankful for that. And I'm just so thankful for my friends and my family, because it really does mean the world to me how everyone responded to it and was there for me. And it just made everything so much more joyful and calming. When I look back now and I think about the moment when Benny and I were about to reveal it on our social media, you know, because that's so important nowadays, I was nervous and really excited, because I was just like, no one is gonna see this coming on there either, and I really don't know what the response is gonna be, but like, I'm just so excited. And after doing our reveal, I was like, I know this reveal has to be so amazing and so stunning. And there's a whole video on that explains the reveal and how we did it and everything, so just go back and watch my baby and gender reveal. But that was a really crazy moment, and I've just never seen so much like love and support poured out on me, even from people I haven't heard from in so long. And it was just very exciting to hear everyone's like love, support, and responses, and it just made me that much more excited for this whole journey to start. There's gonna be some people that you thought you would have heard from in life, and it just didn't happen. That's kind of a bummer, but then like realizing this new step in your life, that's the most important step probably I'll ever take in my life. It was the most exciting thing ever, and this is just nice talking about it. But yeah, that is how I told my friends, my family, and the world that I was pregnant. So I hope that if you're having some trouble or you don't know how to tell someone yet, I hope I could have helped you maybe figure that out, or just give you more confidence and courage to do so. But no matter what, just know that this really is such a beautiful chapter in life, and whether you have some support in some areas and no support in others, just know that you got yourself, God has you, and it's gonna be the most exciting time of your life. So thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for part 3 of my pregnancy story, where I break down my whole entire pregnancy vlog style. And I can't wait for that. Bye guys. Have a blessed day.